All right. So I developed what I call it's an empowerment model, and um, the way that it kind of just came to be was I was in my 30s, kind of maybe close to my 40s, and life was fine. From the peripheral, like I'm married, I've got 3 kids. They're teenagers at the time, and but I would constantly cycle through like just down times, and I'd always think, oh well, if I could fix this in my marriage, then I'll be happy. And it seemed like every time that I would cycle into like a sad time or depressed time, it's like it just was getting worse and worse until, I mean, I just really got myself into a really bad frame of mind. And I always say it's not as though like I was suicidal, but I just kind of was like in this place like I don't care if I wake up tomorrow. And I knew, it's like, I need to go get some help. So I went to see a therapist. And one of the things that I remember the therapist saying is, he was like, you've got the power, you just don't know it. And I remember just thinking, like, the fuck are you talking about? Like, I don't know, you just don't understand, and my life. And but I kind of just I went on, and I was just trying to just muscle through it. And one night I was just up, and I was like, oh my God, I can't do this. I can't do this. But on the other hand, I was like, but what is my alternative? Like, I'm not going to go kill myself. So it's like, I remember just thinking like, I don't care about anything, which almost gave me like a freedom. It's like, but if I needed to care about something, especially for myself, what is it? What do I need? What do I want? And I always knew. I knew exactly what I wanted. I'd always wanted to be a therapist. But, life had gone on. I'm, 20 something years into my marriage. I'm raising my kids. I just thought, time had passed. And in that moment, I was like, I don't care. I don't care what anyone thinks. I'm doing this. And so, trust me, it wasn't an easy thing to try to like apply for graduate school, like at that time.
Yeah.
But somehow, I got in, and I remember I showed up the first day, and I kind of went like this, like, well, that was easy. And what I meant was, the minute I got out of my own way,
Yeah.
no one was stopping me, right? And then I remembered what that therapist had said. You've got the power, you just don't know it. And then it kind of just got put into a context that totally made so much sense to me. So I get through graduate school, learn a lot. I'm kind of one of these insatiable, like kind of lifelong learners. And I learned a lot in graduate, but I also just was reading and doing a lot of my own, self-help work and everything. And I land this job at the hospital. And I remember looking, like I said, it wasn't the really mentally ill people that caught my attention. Who caught my attention were the people that life started kicking them in the butt. And they, landed there. And I thought to myself, I'm not there anymore. But what did I actually do to get myself out of it? And so I literally, I kind of just went back, and I put the most, transformational things in the way that I saw things and understood things, and into this model. And I started teaching it to the people at the hospital, and it was being really well received, and people were really it was making a lot of changes. They were making changes in their life. And then when I went into private practice, I have taught it to every single person. So I'm gonna kind of introduce it to you. And
Okay.
where's my little pen? Here we go. Let's see if I can get this so they can see it. Okay. Okay. Okay, can you see?
Yes.
Okay. So the very first thing that I learned was it is never the situation that causes your reaction. So when I'm talking about a reaction, I'm talking about your go-to emotions. So
Okay.
so what are your go-to emotions? It's like you said, you get angry.
Mm-hmm.
What else?
Defensive.
Defensive.
Disappointed.
Disappointed. Do you shut down? Do you get guilty? Do you get your feelings
No.
hurt?
Yeah, feelings hurt. I get in my head.
What does that mean? You self-blame?
Like I make a mountain. I make a, what's the saying?
Mountain out of
Mole.
molehill? Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, but do you blame others, blame yourself, both?
I think I defensively, like when I say defensive, I probably do blame others.
And then do you blame yourself or no? Not so much.
I think like when I look at the full situation and comprehend it, then I like and calm down. I eventually like take responsibility, like where I need to.
Okay. All right.
I'm not like one of those people. It's all my fault, like unless it's
Okay. All right. But do you get guilty after you've gotten angry?
Oh yeah. Yeah, I want to like smack myself that I made it worse.
Okay. So what I just said is it is not the situation that causes the reaction. What it really is, it's the meaning that you're giving the situation. In other words,
the meaning
that you're giving the situation. In other words, it's your perception, it's your interpretation, right?
Oh my God, it's so true.
Right? It's the story that you tell, or it's the narrative that goes on in your head. That's what causes the reaction. So
totally.
So I will, I'll come home and there's dishes in the sink, and I'm like, are you kidding me? Like, how many times have I just asked, and you put the dish in the dishwasher? And it's like, and is it that big of a deal? Like, I just went to the grocery store for you, and you can't just do that for me. And so literally, I absolutely just get enraged, right? And so as a result, I get really pissed, and then I start feeling extremely hurt, But the meaning that I give it is they don't care about me, right?
Yeah.
So what happens is we get into this vicious cycle, right, between our thoughts, our emotions, and our actions, right? So I think that I heard that we have 60 to 70,000 thoughts a day, but only a small percentage of those thoughts are new thoughts. Really, we're just kind of recycling a version of the same old, same old. I can go back to being 16 years old. I remember it was my friend's birthday. I had a surprise party for her. Next weekend, I find out she went out with a bunch of friends, didn't include me. And I just remember going, are you feeling the exact same anger? I was so hurt. And I just remember thinking, she's not my friend. She doesn't care about me.
Yeah.
Again, so it becomes the lens from which we look out of life, right? So,
Totally.
So what happens is that when you can only see it out of, just that one lens, I cycle into the same meaning and everything. And I was wondering, well, how did that meaning even come to be? Where did that come from? So upon my exploration, I ran across two things that strongly influenced the meaning that we give things. The first one, it's called cognitive distortions. So I just sent you to your email a list Pull it up, of cognitive distortions.
Okay.
All right, and I want you to just take your time, take a look at them.
Okay.
All right, there's like 2 pages.
Yeah. Oh, look, mountains and molehills.
I know. I was thinking of that when you said it.
Interesting. Yeah, this is interesting. So these are the thoughts you have, and they mean comparing. Okay, interesting.
Okay. And the one thing that I just want to be perfectly clear about is that I'm not trying to, argue the point of like how you see something. All I would want to do is to have you recognize that whatever you're thinking, really, the consequence of it is that you're feeling the reaction for it.
Yeah.
Right?
I mean, I think this is like extremely applicable to like my situation because I'm sitting here telling you my dad will say or do one thing and I can tell you he means it one way and I'm taking it a different way.
Right.
And I know that.
Right.
It's like what I'm saying is I need to train my mind to not react off the wrong meaning because I think I'm getting the wrong meaning.
Okay, so when you're saying I need to train my mind, what I would suggest is to challenge some of the distorted thinking. They're also called automatic thoughts. They're also called unhelpful thinking habits, whatever you want to call them. But, and the way to kind of challenge is to bring up some questions. Is this thought a fact? Like, is it a fact that my kids don't care about me? No, they weren't there to ask, and had I asked them, they would probably roll their eyes and thought, like, you need to go get a life type of thing, right? So, what are you actually reacting to, and what meaning are you giving the situation? Is there another way of looking at it, right? So when I'm looking and thinking about, well, I just went to the store for them. Well, another way of looking at it is, if I'm going to the store with an expectation attached, I need to rethink about going to the store, right? If it's not going to be done just out of love and care, then don't fucking do it, right? Another way of looking at it, to put the dish in the dishwasher. Another way of looking at it, there's a million ways that because my perception becomes my reality. So, that's felt really freeing to me. Instead of thinking I have to rely on someone else's actions for my contentment and happiness.
Yeah. Right. So like sometimes I do that. I just do it way late in the game.
Well, but again,
like I do it when I.
So that's what this is. This whole empowerment model is just going to be a foundational strategy to turn to, right? To remind you of what you kind of already know. So other things to ask yourself as far as challenging, is there another way of looking at it? What would someone else say to me or make of it? What advice would I give to someone else? What would be a more balanced, realistic, positive, love-based, whatever way of looking at it, right? Lots of ways just to challenge it. So the next thing that, hold on. The next thing that really strongly influenced the meaning, can you see this, is I call them imprints, right? So what I mean by an imprint is around the age of 3 or 4 years old, that's when children start to differentiate self from other. And that's the time.